This is Middle East Brief with Avi Kaner, your daily intelligence update on what actually matters.
Yesterday, something remarkable happened. Not on a battlefield, not in a peace conference, not in a secret diplomatic meeting. It happened on television. Melinda Nucifora of Saudi Arabia's Al Arabiya sat down with Israeli President Isaac Herzog for a wide-ranging in-person interview in Jerusalem. That alone is historic. Think about it. A Saudi-owned broadcaster interviewing the President of Israel from Jerusalem, broadcasting to hundreds of millions of Arabic-speaking viewers throughout the Middle East and beyond. 20 years ago, 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, few would have imagined this. Sometimes diplomacy doesn't begin with treaties. It begins with conversations. And yesterday's conversation mattered. Melinda Nucifora asked difficult questions, not softball questions. She challenged President Herzog on Iran, the Strait of Hormuz, the war in Gaza, civilian casualties, normalization with Saudi Arabia, public opinion, relations with the United States, and the future of the Palestinians. She asked the questions many viewers across the Arab world wanted answered. Herzog, for his part, repeatedly returned to several themes. First, Iran. He argued that recent Iranian attacks on shipping in the Strait of Hormuz demonstrated exactly why Israel has long warned that the Islamic Republic cannot be trusted. He said Iran repeatedly violates agreements, uses proxies to destabilize the region, and seeks leverage through intimidation rather than diplomacy. He also praised the president's firm response to attacks on international shipping and insisted that freedom of navigation through Strait of Hormuz is a global interest, not merely an American or Israeli one. Second, Saudi Arabia. This may have been the most significant part of the interview. Herzog spoke warmly about Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. He described normalization with Saudi Arabia as one of Israel's great strategic goals. But what caught my attention most was a single phrase. He said he envisions a dialogue between Jerusalem and Mecca. Think about that. Not simply diplomacy, not merely normalization, but a dialogue between the spiritual centers of Judaism and Islam. He even shared a personal dream to drive from Jerusalem to Beirut to Damascus, and ultimately to see peace with Saudi Arabia. That is remarkable vision to present directly to an Arab audience. Third, the Palestinians in Gaza. Nucifora challenged Herzog with one of the toughest questions of the interview. She cited international allegations regarding civilian casualties and asked whether he was uncomfortable with the scale of suffering in Gaza. So Herzog rejected many of the casualty figures being circulated and argued that Israel had operated according to international law while defending itself after the October 7 Hamas massacres. He emphasized that Hamas embedded military infrastructure beneath civilian neighborhoods, schools, mosques, and homes, making the battlefield extraordinarily complex. At the same time, and this is very important, he expressed genuine sorrow for innocent Palestinian civilians. He said, "My heart aches for every innocent civilian on the Palestinian side." He argued that lasting hope for Gaza depends on removing Hamas from power and replacing it with a Palestinian administration capable of rebuilding the territory. That's very, very important. Fourth, Lebanon and Syria. Herzog said Israel seeks peace with both countries. He argued that Hezbollah, not Lebanon itself, remains the obstacle to peaceful coexistence. His message was simple. Israel wants secure borders, not endless conflict. Finally, perhaps the interview's most revealing exchange concerned public opinion. Nucifora asked why so much of the world has turned against Israel. Herzog acknowledged the problem directly. He argued that much of the campaign against Israel is coordinated through social media, demonstrations, and organized messaging designed to influence international opinion. He also said many people simply do not understand Israeli society. They don't realize that roughly 1/5 of Israel's citizens are Arab. They don't know that Muslim judges serve in Israel's Sharia courts. They don't know that Arab political parties participate in Israel's democracy. In his view, misinformation flourishes where knowledge is absent. For me, however, the interview's greatest significance wasn't any single answer. It was the interview itself, a Saudi-owned broadcaster interviewing Israel's president in Jerusalem, speaking respectfully, asking difficult questions, and discussing the future of the region. That is progress. The Abraham Accords changed diplomatic relations. Interviews like this change public conversation. Peace doesn't begin with signatures. It begins when people start talking to one another. Yesterday, millions of people across the Arab world heard directly from the President of Israel. That conversation alone would have been unimaginable only a few years ago. And perhaps that is the biggest story of all.
This is Middle East Brief with Avi Kaner. If you want clarity, not noise, follow and share. Continue the conversation on X at Avi Kaner. Back tomorrow